Hello, this is Arielle, the Inconspicuous Bear, and I'll be narrating the 10-man Norushen encounter in the Siege of Orgrimmar from a Guardian point of view. This encounter is definitely a step up from the previous two. It requires greater raid coordination, but the tank responsibility is pretty minimal. There are only a couple things you have to worry about, even though there's an entire other phase for tanks only. It's pretty easy, and I'll definitely walk you through how to complete it. The first ability you have to worry about from the Amalgam of Corruption is something called Unleashed Anger. This will hit you for 400,000 physical damage before things like armor and damage reductions, and it will also place a stacking debuff on you, which increases the damage that Unleashed Anger does by 40% per stack. You can probably you can easily take up to 5 or 6 of these stacks before you have to swap, but it is technically the quote-unquote tank swap mechanic that forces you to switch tanks. The second primary thing you have to worry about as a tank are the manifestations of corruption. You can see that big ad that spawned, and I just picked it up and started taking it with the boss. Now, when these ads die, they leave behind a pool of stuff, nasty crap that has to be soaked by a player in order to prevent it from pulsing damage onto the raid. You can see here I'm going to soak this one, and that will increase my corruption. It's another resource bar that's hidden under my voodoo frames to 100. When you're at 100, you cannot soak any more balls, so you have to go down and get purified by doing your little trial. In the tank trial, you must fight a titanic corruption. The goal is to either survive for 1 minute or kill it, whichever happens first. The first ability is Titanic Smash, which hits a cone in front of the corruption for 1 million shadow damage. Just move out of this. It's pretty simple to dodge. The second ability is called Horror Corruption, which does between 7 and 800,000 shadow damage. It's a spell, so you can just interrupt it. You'll interrupt will refresh before you need to interrupt the second one, so don't worry about that. The third ability is called Burst of Corruption, which does 300,000 shadow damage. You can't avoid it, so you just have to heal through it. The final ability the corruption will use is called Piercing Corruption, which is 600,000 shadow damage, again before armor and damage reduction, etc., etc. You also cannot avoid this or dodge it or anything like that, so you just have to heal through it again. And the final thing that will happen is you will gain a stacking debuff that's just called Corruption. This deals 17,000 shadow damage per stack per second, but if you're using your active mitigation correctly, chances are you will not even notice it. Once you complete your challenge, you will be purified and be a nice little white glowy color. This will cause you to take less damage from the Amalgam of Corruption, but that doesn't really matter because it doesn't do any damage anyway. And you'll be free to soak 4 more puddles from the big ads that come out. Remember, you will want to coordinate with the rest of your raid team to determine who is soaking puddles. Those that are going down to get purified should fill up the corruption bar before going down to make the most efficient use of soakers. The last couple things you need to know for positioning are that you want to keep them facing one direction as much as possible so that the raid can stack and easily heal the pulsing AoE that happens throughout the entire fight. The second thing is laser beams. You can see one floating around the room right now. It's like an instant death ray from what's that guy? Darumu. Same sort of idea. Don't touch it or you die. It spawns, moves really slow, and either goes counterclockwise or clockwise, so you should be able to easily tell what's happening. For talents, I'd definitely recommend Feline Swiftness to make it easier to dodge cutter beams and to soak pools. Ysera's Gift, again, for Tier 2. Pretty simple talent, doesn't require any additional input from the user. And there's not really much opportunity to min-max it in this encounter anyway. Soul of the Forest, or Incarnation. Again, you can pick your poison. You can use Incarnation to burst down the Titanic Corruption a lot faster, or you can just take Soul of the Forest for overtime rage generation. You notice that I skipped the balanced talents. There isn't any use for any of them. Just ignore them. For Tier 5, I'd take Bash, because stunning the manifestations of corruption is pretty useful, because it allows you to keep them in place without having them attack anyone. And you have to do it on Heroic anyway, so might as well learn. And for Tier 6, Nature's Vigil or Gemisnarius, again, because you can't really get maximum use out of Heart of the Wild in this encounter, because you're either tanking the boss, or tanking ads, or doing your challenge. For tank items, you can really pick whatever you want. You're never going to be in danger of dying, and while there's no cleave specifically, the extra DPS on the Titanic Corruption and on any of the ads would be greatly appreciated. I hope you enjoyed this video, and good luck in the Siege of Orgrimmar.
I can't soak it.
What are your stacks at?
So you mean self-death?
Or can you taunt boss or no?
Yeah, I'll taunt.
Okay,
Yeah, my stacks are gone.
Okay, I suck that one.
That works too.
Okay, we should have one more. Need someone that's not me to soak this.
Beware.
Tanking.
Fucking mumble.